Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the client-side currency editor by Infogistix. The client-side editor control is actually a jQuery plugin, so you can use that in any HTML page you want. What I have in front of me is a Visual Studio 2010 project, and I'm going to come down here and add a new HTML page. And we are going to call this page igCurrencyEditor. Once we're on our page, first thing we need is the script references and CSS files so that our control can be instantiated on the client in the browser, and it's styled using CSS. I've actually already copied the JavaScript and CSS files. It's actually part of the install location, so if you want to do that beforehand, you can also do so. So first thing we need is the jQuery core and the jQuery UI. Once we have these two script references, we can come down and bring in our Infogistix JavaScript file. Okay, these are the three JavaScript references we need. Then we're going to come down our contents folder and bring in the CSS files. So we're going to grab this igui.min.css, and the next file we need is the jQuery UI.custom.css. Okay, so once we have these files in place, we can now go ahead and start writing some code. So in our body, what we're going to do is we're going to define a couple of placeholders, and we're going to use the first one to be just a standard currency editor control, and we'll see how you can convert this div element into a client-side currency editor. And the next one, we're just going to play with some additional properties of the currency editor. I'm going to call this my own currency editor. So we're going to convert this as well to a currency editor, but with some extra properties to kind of show you how flexible the control is. So back in our head section, we're going to define our script block, and we're going to use the jQuery onLoad method, which is going to get fired once the DOM is initialized. And we're going to use this to convert our div elements below to the Infogistix currency editor. So I'm going to grab the first element using this ID selector, currency editor, and I'm going to call the plugin. And just by doing that, it would now convert my div element into an Infogistix currency editor control. So now I can just basically start setting up some options, what my default behavior of the currency editor needs to be. And I'm going to start off by setting a null text property, which is going to be displayed when there is no value in the editor control. I'm also going to set up a button to be type spin, so it's going to display the increment decrement button on the right hand side of the editor control. By doing that, I'm also going to set a spin delta, so when the user clicks on that button, what value it should increment or decrement with. I'm going to say 5, and we'll also set a min value and a max value of the control. So min value of 0 and a max value of 100. Finally, let's set up a width on this to be 200 pixels, and these are the simple default we're going to use for the first editor control. Now the second editor control is my own currency, so I'm going to copy this thing, paste it, because that's for the default part. I'm going to use the same properties. I'm going to use the ID to be my own currency editor, but my own currency has a special symbol, so it has a symbol of a %sign. So I'm going to use that as my currency symbol, and for the decimal separator, I'm going to use a Python sign. So again, just to give you an idea of the number of options you have in this control. So just by doing this, setting up simple properties, let's right click and view this in the browser. Okay, at runtime you see we have two different currency editor controls. You can see spin buttons and the null text, which is enter price. The first one is the simple currency editor. So if I set up a price of, let's say, $25.25 and move off it, I get the dollar sign and the decimal place stays in place. And if I increment or decrement, it's going to basically use the spin delta that we set. So it's going to increment by $5, and if I do the decrement, it's going to decrement the value by $5. If I try to enter a text, let's say a negative value or a positive value higher than 100, let's say set up a $200, it's going to switch it back to $100 because that's our max value in the editor control. Now there are events being fired at this point in time, so you can actually prompt the user that the value of the enter was higher than the max value that they could put in this editor control. So similar properties do apply in the next editor control, but we have special symbols. So let's see what happens here. So I try to set 25 and hit the decimal point. It won't let me do that because our decimal point for the currency is the Python sign. So it will accept Python as a decimal place, and then if I can enter 25 cents, so to speak. And if I tab out of it, I get my percent sign being displayed in the front, which is the actual currency symbol that I'm using in my currency editor control. And if I do use the spin button, it's going to increment by the value of 5 and decrement by a value of 5. Again, similar settings apply here as well. So again, in this quick video, you saw it's fairly easy to use the jQuery plugin and convert any element to a Infogesics currency editor control and set up the defaults of whatever need you have from the currency input from the end users. Thanks for watching.
Infogesics. On the web at infogesics.com.